Hey, what's up here? This is Mark Lisway here with ML Productions. In this video tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you some of the controls and hotkeys in Adobe After Effects. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you the controls down here, what all these symbols do and mean, these controls here, what you can do with all this stuff here, um, what all these buttons do up here, and the hotkeys for them, and I'm going to be explaining everything over here. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is show you what this stuff up here does. So I'm just going to quickly make a new composition. I'm just going to add some stuff so you can see. I'm just going to add some text because that's going to be the easiest to see. I'm just going to add ML Productions. Okay. So what this mouse symbol does is it's basically the master control that allows you to move stuff, expand it by clicking and dragging on these corners of your picture or text. Now, if you want to expand something and keep it in its same aspect ratio, which means the same amount of pixels up as sideways, you click the corner, then hold Shift and expand it, then it stays in its same aspect ratio. Now, if you don't want to do that, just don't hold Shift, and you can see now you can make it a lot different. So now let's say you accidentally make it like this and you want to get it back to exactly how it was. Press Control Z on your keyboard and that will be an undo for the last movement or change in value you did. Another way to undo something is if you change it, just go Edit and hit Undo and it will change it back. The hand tool here is basically a view tool, so you can click and drag to view differently. And one thing you would use this for is if you move into a 3D view by going to the view here. I'll explain that in just a second. And let's say you have a camera down here you want to move. You would go to this hand tool and then you can drag your view over and you could view whatever's down here. And now, so if I go back to my normal view by going active camera, you can see it's down at the corner, so I can take my hand tool and just drag up. Another way to center up your layer or camera position is by, so if I was down here, is by going to the mouse tool, selecting this percentage here by just going to the magnification and just hitting fit. That'll make this centered up. And then you can use your scroll wheel to zoom in and out. The magnifying glass is basically just a zoom in on whatever area. So you just click on the area you want to zoom and just click and it zooms in for you. The rotation tool will allow you to rotate an object. So let's say we select this and I've made this 3D and we just hit the rotate tool. All the rotation tool is this rotates the object on the anchor point. I will explain how to change the anchor point later. Just hit Control Z to reposition it. The orbit camera tool. The orbit camera tool is basically if you have a camera in your scene and you have it selected and you hit the orbit camera tool, it basically just allows you to move the camera in a 3D space around your picture or object. And you can just, if you don't like where it's positioned, you can just hit Control Z to move it back. I usually just use this to check how much 3D something is or just to see how it looks from a different angle. So Control Z to move it back. The pan behind tool. This I haven't used, but what it does, I believe, is it changes the view of the camera anchor point while you're looking at an object. So I've used this for something called Sure Target. And Sure Target, but what Sure Target does is it follows the camera position to a set anchor point. And the pan behind tool basically changes that anchor point so that you can position it better. Now, this tool here basically makes a shape like a rectangle. It makes a mask. Now, these are predefined, pre-shaped masks. The pen tool is basically just to make to make a custom design with your own shape. That's basically all that is. And then you can just go down to your picture or text and delete them. So that, and the text tool is basically just to insert some text. Very simple. These are drawing tools, but they're more for pictures, and I'm not going to really do them on text. But if you ever want to make a picture, you should do it in Photoshop or Paint or any specific drawing program like that. Okay. Now, if we move on to here, this is basically a shortcut menu to this right here. These have all the same things in here, but here you can search for something. So let's say I have something called trapcode form. Let's say I can't remember where it is in the effects. It's really right here, trapcode form. Let's say I don't know. I could just search form, and I would get trapcode form. And I could drag that onto it. The other tab, character, is the text. The text tools. So you can change the size of the text. You can change the height you can change the spacing of the letters. I find that pretty cool. You can change, again, the height of the text. You can change the width of the letters. You can change where it is positioned up and down. Now, the only thing you use that for is, let's say you want to make a logo. So let's enter, well, ML Productions, and we'll add a presents. So what I could do is I could select presents, and I could widen it out here, make the text smaller, and make the text make the letters more spaced out, and then make the text not as wide, and then spread the letters out. So you could use that for a logo or title or something. And then you can use the up and down tool here to position it up or down. We won't need that right now. And then of course you have your text styles, and then depending on what kind of font you have, it would be like bold or italicized. And then you have text colors. We can change it to a blue. Let's leave that white. Okay. And then we have tracker controls. Now, tracking controls is basically if you have a shaky footage, and let's say you want to add a sparks on a light, like there's an explosion going on, and you want to add sparks on the light, and the camera's shaking back and forth, and you can't get the sparks to stay on the light. What a tracking control would do is you would track a null object to the light, and then you would parent the sparks to the null object, and then the sparks would stay to that light. To find out more about this, it would be only if you have something like Action Essentials, and if you do have Action Essentials, there's a great tutorial for that. I'm not going to really explain it though, because it's going to take a little while. Now this is just basically just paragraphs, so if you had like a title or a credits or something, you could just put it like this. It's not really going into detail for that because you should know what that is. The controls down here I've kind of already explained. This is like a zoom and a fit. This is basically to help you position stuff. So there's this grid to help you make stuff aligned with each other. There's this one to help you keep it even more refined, aligned together. There's the guides, which not sure what they do. Title action, which is basically just helps you center something up. So you take these two dots in the middle of your picture, and you would make sure they're centered with the cross, and then it would be center in the screen. That's that, and then the 3D reference axis basically shows you, so if we select the camera and we go to the orbit, it would show you which way you're looking at something. But I'm not sure we'd really use that, but it's there if you need it. And then you also have rulers, which you can see just tells you where your mouse cursor is. I'm not sure what you would use that for. This just shows masks, so if we add a mask to this, we can turn it. Oops, that's not a mask, that's a shape layer. Select our text and just make a mask around it. Ta-da! If we just hit this, it will show or not show the mask. That's all that is. This is your timer controls, so how far you are in time. This is just to take a snapshot of your current scene. I don't know what that is. This is just show what color channels. I usually have it on RGB, so it shows all the channels. This is for how much quality you want to show. So let's say you have a scene with a lot of flares and a lot of particles, and you just want to render it out just to see how it looks with your music or something. I would render it out in quarters so it renders in the fastest. This, I'm not sure what that does. This will show the transparency of an object. So let's say you want to use a green screen, and you took all the green out of something, but just to make sure all the green was out, you would hit this, and then you could place something behind it, and then that was how you make your green screen. So this is just basically for green screen stuff. This is to show what view you want your current view to be at. So all the custom views are 3D views. These views are, so let's say top, that's our text there. It's not 3D, so it's just a line. You could have the back, so that's back of my text. The left, or the front, or the right. If you needed to, the bottom, they're all the angles. Active camera is basically just the default front, or wherever your selected camera is. You can also change the view to your current one of your cameras. And then you have how many views you want to have up. So you can select 2 views and horizontal, and you can select one, change the view to a custom view, and then you can work like this. So this would be helpful if, say, you were doing a scene where you have text coming in behind the camera and then you had to adjust it here and here. You don't have to change back from views all the time. And then you have, same like this, you can have more views and stuff like that. This is just like, so wireframe is basically just for extremely fast rendering. It just shows the size of your objects. So say you have a ton of stuff, this would just basically be a quick little way to render everything. These are just other views. And down here, motion blur is basically, so let's say you have it animate and moving. The motion blur would give it some blur effects, like when a car moves really fast past on a video, you can kind of see there's like some blur to it. That's all that would do. So you would have, if you want to do that, you would have to select the little blur symbol here and on the composition as well. The shy symbol basically means it will hide anything that is in your layer here. So let's say you have something and you're done with it, it's good, but just taking up space, like you're making a 3D object, and so you have to like duplicate it a bunch of times, put one behind the other. You would select all the ones but your one text and just make it shy, and then hit this, and it would make it disappear, so then it's not really in the way anymore. That can actually be very helpful. That's about all for the controls and buttons in Adobe After Effects for beginners. There are a bunch more, but I won't explain those right now. So anyway, thanks for watching this tutorial. Bye.